This Ag Business Update brought to you by American Implement, indebted to the past, committed to the future. In a moment, Ag News.
The cost of everything has gone up dramatically over the last 75 years. With one exception: keeping electricity affordable.
Wheatland Electric, delivering energy for life, your Touchstone Energy Cooperative.
When you've had a best friend for over 50 years, you develop a trust. And the Scott Co-op has been a trusted rural friend since 1957. A co-op keeps money in the area, doing business for and with their members. And that helps keep their hometown thriving with keeping money in the community. Scott Co-op is not just an elevator. It's the rural way of doing business. So, when you see an elevator, remember your friends at Scott Co-op.
And joining us now is K-State Ag economist, Dr. Dan O'Brien, the Northwest Research Center out in Colby. Good morning, Dr. O'Brien.
Good morning, Ken.
All right, let's get into it. I tell you, I get more questions and comments from folks that want to know what's going on with these markets, trying to make some sense of it. So that's what we're going to try to tackle. And let's here we are, first part of June, and these markets have been, a roller coaster ride would say. This has been a pretty wild one. So what to make, especially of these corn and soybeans, they've just kind of been on their own trajectory. We'll talk more about the wheat in our next segment, but right now we do want to focus in on the corn and the bean market and just it's just I'm not sure how to describe it.
Well, we've been on trends the last 3 or 4 or 5 years of tightening up world supplies relative to use. And for instance, you look at world corn stocks use minus China, which is a good way to look at it because we're unsure about the Chinese ending stocks. But we had been, let's say 2017, 18, had ending stocks in the world projected, again, outside of China, about 14%. And we've been steadily moving down to 12.7%, 2018, 19 marketing year down to 12.3, down to 10.2, 2021 projected to be mainly on some price rationing, still below 11 at 10.9 in the current marketing year. So we already were in a situation where we had strong usage, inconsistent production, and tightening stocks. And then, of course, the Ukraine-Russia situation, just and with Ukraine's prominence as a exporter in the world, the third or fourth ranked exporter, depending on how you look at the numbers, that quote shook the market up. And so when you take Ukraine out of that equation with the great uncertainty as to what they'll actually be able to bring to the table this year or make available, then you get down closer to historic lows, and that's when you get UN groups and food security concerns hopping all around, wondering about where we're going. So,
and the U.S., it seemed like yet again that anticipation of shifting acres from corn to beans probably didn't happen like again we thought it would a couple of months back.
Well, the fertilizer issue all winter threw a haymaker at corn acres. I think we're projected to be down about 4 million from the previous year for corn acres in the U.S. and a lot. It's not that the price is low; it's just the availability of fertilizer. So we shifted that over into the soybean side, and in essence raised almost by that much soybean acres. But what's surprising to me, Ken, is even with that shift, we're still seeing tremendous soybean prices, and that has to do with weather conditions. Some would say La Nina down South America affecting first the soybean crop, making also their safrinha corn crop at risk, and just adding that much more of a challenge to those markets. Now, the Ukraine-Russia situation doesn't directly affect soybean production, but it does directly affect sunflower production. And they had a strong world-leading sunflower crush industry that was sunflower oil taking a prominent place in the world. So kind of indirectly, all the oilseed market's been affected by what has happened in that, just because of the shortfall in sunflower oil. I would also say that we threw on top of that the problems in Indonesia with palm oil, a temporary boycott of sending sending oil out of the country, and it just makes things more challenging. I do think that when we get into situations like this and countries start acting in a protective manner, that really and upsetting the flow of grain moving across borders, across the world to where it's needed, that's when we really start to see prices in a very inelastic manner jump. And I think that's what had been happening.
Dr. Dan O'Brien, ag economist, Kansas State University. Let's take a break. We'll come back and talk about this wheat market in just a moment.
The cost of everything has gone up dramatically over the last 75 years. With one exception: keeping electricity affordable.
Wheatland Electric, delivering energy for life, your touchstone energy cooperative.
S&S Trailer Sales, with 2 locations in Ness City, Kansas, is where everybody goes to buy or rent trailers. They feature the all-new, all-aluminum Mauer grain trailer with all of the electric options, the easy-to-load detached trailers, and a huge stock of header trailers. At the west location, you'll find bumper poles, goosenecks, and oilfield specialty trailers, along with flat and utility beds for pickups. S&S Trailer Sales in Ness City and on the web, but remember, you do have to spell out the end.
And joining us, Dr. Dan O'Brien, the K-State. He's the ag economist and out in the Northwest Research Extension Office in Colby. So let's talk about this wheat. It has been another just very interesting ride. We just got off the wheat tour a couple of weeks ago. We kind of knew what was expecting, but these prices, though, there's so many other factors into this price right now. But if you're going to grow wheat, I think you're going to be okay this year.
Well, we have high prices. We had gotten it's interesting to look at that July hard red contract on the 17th. We'd gotten up to as high as 1379, trading at least earlier this week, trading down pretty sharply. And just depending when you look at the chart, at least 40 cents down, could be more. We'll see how it all works out. But so it's a market moving around on rumors and hopes or disappointments. And right now, there has been discussion of Turkey getting involved with brokering a deal for moving grain out of Ukraine. And if that were to happen, that could make supplies more available to the world, etc. Antonina Broyaka in our shop has talked a lot about the logistical issues they have in that country right now. Availability of fuel, availability of truck drivers, the insecurity of farming fields that have to be demined, much less going to the ports and moving things out. So I don't want to be a cynic and a pessimist, but boy, there's some high hurdles to have to jump over to get an appreciable amount of wheat out of Ukraine into world channels this year. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying with that and with all these different factors into the trade, when, have we already hit the harvest high before harvest has hit Kansas?
Well, we've hit at least a world worry high. And I don't know. We'll have to see what we actually get out of our own fields as the combines roll in the western 2/3 of Kansas. And the Kansas Wheat Tour, as you and I are well aware, came through and did not have a very rosy view of what was actually going to come out of that, especially the southwest, west central, and I understand kind of the western part of south central Kansas, all not doing very well. Substandard yields. Of course, the high prices will still drive them to go harvest what they can get this year, probably more so this year than other years. So we got that. And I read the same reports you read, Ken, about how in the hard red spring wheat area, continued moisture, delaying of planting. Are they going to be able to get in some of those areas, even get the crop in? And so in North America, and that those problems extend up into Canada. So this year, as we stand today, we have to have major questions about what we're going to be producing for wheat coming out of North America. The soft red crop looks pretty good, but that hasn't been the bulk of what we've been exporting around the world. And we talk a lot about hard red spring, but white wheat has been a strong product that we've shipped out the Pacific Northwest here in the U.S. and those dry areas are too wet, depending where you're at, up into Montana, Idaho. They also haven't been doing that well. So I think that I guess it's telling that when you see where we've come down to, we had jumped up to 1379, we've fallen down to 1235, and really where we're at now, we still have tremendous prices. We're basically at the top of the trading range we were in since about March 1 to about May the 10th. And so now we jumped up above that. Now we're back down to the top of it. So that says something about just how tight the world's supplies of wheat are. And would just say, when you look at stocks to use numbers, the world's projection stocks to use for wheat for the 22-23 marketing year is 19.5%. And that is the lowest since all the way back to at least 2013-14. We hadn't never had anything below 21%, and now in 1 year we're projected down to below 20. So world's pretty skittish to say the least about where supplies are going to where they're at, how they're going to get to where they need to be, and what the prices will be to have to move to give us incentives to make all that happen.
All right. Well, Dr. O'Brien, again, folks want to learn more about all the things that you're talking about. Agmanager.info is a good place to start.
Yep. Yeah, we appreciate people looking at that. Again, we put out weekly notes on the grain markets, kind of a weekly summary, just so we know what we're talking about in terms of real numbers. Those generally are available each Friday. And we appreciate anybody come and take a look at it.
All right, very good. Well, as always, appreciate your insights. We'll talk with you again.
Thanks, Ken. We appreciate it.
Dr. Dan O'Brien from K-State has joined us. We'll have more in just a moment.
Wolfter Construction and Irrigation has been around a long time, and a lot of folks have trusted them to design, build, and service all sizes of commercial and on-farm storage for grain and equipment. Wolfter is also known for their outstanding irrigation division, where they stock a complete selection of nozzles, regulators, drops, gear drives, electrical, and structure components. Looking for an electric motor? Wolfter has a large selection in single and three-phase. Next time, reach out to the pros who have decades of experience at taking care of business the right way. Wolfter Construction and Irrigation.
KBUF has ag information for you weekdays beginning just about 6 o'clock in the morning with Agriculture Today. We have market updates, ag news, and interviews to help you make good decisions on the farm and ranch. You can follow along on our social media pages on Facebook and Twitter. Also, listen online, westernkansasnews.com. I'm Ken Rogers. Thanks for watching.